Welcome to the 5th episode of the Los Angeles City Section Baseball Podcast. Connor Morissette and Alex Scar here with you like we are every week. Alex, we just got the tail end of Birmingham against Roosevelt. The Patriots win 2-1 over the Rough Riders. Takeaways from this game?
Yeah, nice little bounce-back win here for Birmingham, as we're going to talk about a little bit later. A tough week for them against El Camino Real. They got swept by the Conquistadors. Played Roosevelt here this morning, and a good win. This is a team, Roosevelt, that we've talked about before. They're a pretty well-respected team, so a good 2-1 win here for the Patriots. And DJ Virginie, he really had a nice bounce-back outing. A tough one for him. He didn't make it out of the first inning there against El Camino, so a really nice pitching outing here for DJ. They head up West Valley League play the rest of the season. It's going to be a good one, but a good win here for them today.
We'll go through our top 10 in a second. New number 1 team. We have some games to watch, as we always do, and then we'll give out some game balls. So let's get into the top 10. Alex, first appearance for the team at number 10, Pauley.
Yeah, the Pauley Parrots, welcome to the top 10. They're 13-8. The thing that stood out for me is they're 4-0 in the East Valley League play, and they have outscored teams 52-0.
Wow.
They have not allowed a run in East Valley League play. Now East Valley League is not exactly full of stalwarts, but hey, when you're out and you're crushing the ball like that and then you're pitching really, really well, Pauley Parrots are one of the more historic programs. They were winning titles back in the 70s, so a good thing to get some respect in their form. Pauley Parrots, they're at 10.
At number 9, Roosevelt, a team we just saw, and they played Birmingham close, a team who has been number 1 with us for a while now. So I think even though they lost, they could take some good things away from this game.
Yeah, Roosevelt, they're 13-6. We mentioned they kind of dropped down. They're at 9. They had been at 6 last week. They were at 4 earlier in the season. But a showing like this against a good team like Birmingham, I think, is going to kind of help propel them back to where they had been. They swept Southeast this week, beat them 7-0 and 4-2, but they had a 1-0 win over San Pedro in 8 innings, and that kind of concerned me just a little bit because San Pedro is not exactly the type of talent that they're used to playing. A little bit lower class, and for them to only win 1-0, that kind of it signaled to me that maybe they weren't all there in that game. But a sweep of Southeast this week, and then a good showing here against Birmingham. We're going to see the Rough Riders a little bit more.
At number 8 from the Marine League, the Banning Pilots.
Yeah, Banning 15-6. They had 2 mercies over Gardena, 25-0 combined score in those 2 games. So not exactly the type of competition Banning likes to play, but hey, they're winning. And coming up later, they have Pali, Roosevelt, and Carson all on the schedule. So a couple really good games here for Banning, and they've got a lot to prove. They want to move up from 8.
Absolutely. Number 7, the Palisades Dolphins. They continue to do well in Western League play.
Yeah, they're undefeated in Western League. They're on top of those standings, 5-0 in league. They beat Fairfax 10-0 and 8-5. Now Fairfax is a team that's probably going to find themselves in the middle towards the bottom of the Western League. But hey, you still gotta clean the table. You gotta do what you have to do, beat the teams you need to beat. Pali, they're 14-7. I think there were 7 in our top 10 last week, and they stay there. As Western League play really starts kicking into high gear, I think Pali's got a chance to run away with this, considering we've seen Hamilton and Venice kind of beat up on each other. Hamilton plays Laces also this week, so you're going to see a lot of those middle teams kind of beat up on each other. Pali has a shot to run away with the Western League.
All right, I like that take a lot, so look out for the Dolphins. At number 6, Granada Hills, I saw them beat Taft 2-1 earlier this week. Great pitching performance from Matt Diaz in that game, and talking to some parents over there, they said that Diaz is a guy who maybe doesn't get quite the amount of respect that they feel he deserves, and you got to take everything with a grain of salt when you're talking to Granada people talking about their own players. But I was impressed with him. The only run that he gave up was unearned, so I thought he had a really, really solid performance. And then Matt Bacon for them hit a home run to really get them started in that game. So a nice win from Granada. I know Taft and Granada traditionally are the bottom feeders in the West Valley League. So
it's so competitive of a league. It's hard to kind of crack those top 3 spots.
And it was important, though, for them to beat Taft to show, like, hey, we mean business this year.
Yeah, Granada Hills, they're 12-5, and they swept Taft. So they beat Taft, the game you were at, and then they scored 15 runs, beat them 15-9 yesterday. So Granada Hills, I think they're starting to click. They're going to play, I think it's Birmingham or it's El Camino Real this week, and then Birmingham the next week. I mean, they really kind of run the gauntlet in the West Valley League. So Granada Hills, if they want to be taken seriously, here's an opportunity.
Number 5, Carson.
Carson, they're 14-7, 2 forfeit wins over George Washington Prep. That was one of our games to watch last week. I wanted to see how does George Washington Prep, do they have a team? How do they prepare? They don't have a team. Turns out George Washington Prep forfeited both games. Kind of a tough situation to see there in the Marine League. They're not really going to be much of anything. But, hey, they count for wins in the scorebook. So Carson, they're 14-7. They got Venice and Gardena next week and Banning a little bit later.
Chatsworth at number 4, kind of a surprise result for them. They got blown out by Cleveland, but then they were able to come back and win the second game of that little 2-game series.
Yeah, Cleveland, they got blindsided by Cleveland. They lost 10-0, a 10-0 Mercy Rule win for Cleveland. That was a little bit surprising. But then they bounced back and beat them 9-3 the next game. So I think Chatsworth a little bit just of a hiccup there. Didn't get the greatest start out of their starter in that loss, but they're 11-6. They're going to continue to be one of the best teams here in the city section. They play Birmingham, they play El Camino, so we're going to see a lot of filtering, I think, 1 through 4. But Chatsworth, I wouldn't expect them to fall lower than this.
Number 3, Birmingham, they fall from their number 1 spot where we've had them all year, and that's because they played El Camino Real and lost pretty badly twice this past week.
Yeah, they got mercied 15-5 on Wednesday. I took in both of these games, a 15-5 loss on Wednesday and then an 8-0 loss yesterday. So a little bit tough for Birmingham. They had played a lot of good teams. I think El Camino, they might have been sandbagging. They were playing some really good teams and they were losing. El Camino is a really talented ball club. We're going to get to them just a little bit later. Birmingham did not have their best stuff. I think the pitching was it was a little hit or miss. Some of the guys didn't have their great stuff in both those outings. So an off week. I'm going to chalk it up to an off week. I think they're going to give El Camino more of a test. I don't think this is exactly indicative of how they can play, but I'm interested to see how their pitchers bounce back. We took in a good start from DJ Virginia here today. 0-2 in league, not the greatest start, but if their pitchers can bounce back and just kind of regain form, I think they'll be okay.
Do you think that was a look at the City Section Championship, or too soon to go that far?
I wouldn't be surprised if it was. I think this is going to be one of those, if it's not a final, it's a semifinal type of thing. So yeah, both of these teams are going to be right there. I would not be surprised to see them playing in late May or June.
At number 2 from the Valley Mission League, Kennedy, they continue just to hang around.
Yeah, Kennedy, they're 16-5. I know the Cougars, those kids, they want to be number 1. They got to beat a big team. Right now, they're just absolutely beating up the Valley Mission League. 36 scoreless innings. They had played 36 scoreless innings before giving up 1 run against Sylmar in a 4-1 win. So they got to play some teams that really kind of test them, because right now they're blowing teams out. They blew out Reseda. They're blowing out Sylmar. It's going to be tough for Kennedy. I think they're not going to quite get the same respect as a Chatsworth or El Camino or Birmingham. But if they continue to play like this, once it gets to playoffs, they're going to be full in high gear. So watch out for Kennedy.
And then number 1, we've been talking about them every week, saying they're going to find their stride eventually, and it looks like they have. It's El Camino Real, 2 huge wins over Birmingham. I know you talked to Cole Kitchen after one of those games, and he's having a great season so far. The Conquistadors, they're number 1, and it looks like they might stay there for a little bit.
Yeah, I made the joke where they sandbag, and I think they played Arcadia, they played West Ranch, They played St. Bonaventure. These are some really, really good teams in Southern California. So that 11-9 record, I think, is really, really misleading. We saw that first test. When they played Birmingham, it was a slugfest early on. I think it was 6-5 in that 4th inning, the 3rd inning. Then the bats just really were relentless. It was a base hit here, not necessarily home runs or doubles, even though Cole Kitchen did have a homer, but it was base knocks. It was a single here, a walk there, a single here. All of a sudden, you got bases loaded, nobody out. And any pitcher in any situation, that's going to be a really tough thing to get yourself out of. So El Camino Real, just a relentless lineup. They got a really good pitching performance out of Brian Golnick yesterday. So I'm not going to say nobody's beating them, because anybody can beat anybody in this league, as we've seen this week. So they're going to have, I think, maybe the most favored road. I think El Camino is going to be kind of at that number 1 team. They're hitting and pitching dominant, but hey, anybody can test them. But for now, Elko's our number 1 spot.
Time now for our Games to Watch segment, where we highlight some games that we're going to be interested in this week. Because it's league play, Alex, teams are playing each other twice. So let's start in the Western League. Hamilton and Lacis will square off twice this week. What are you expecting from those matchups?
Yeah, so a lot of home and homes here this week, Hamilton and Lacis. I watched Hamilton and Venice. I took in a Venice win. I think it was 5-0. Venice looked good. I think Hamilton just kind of got some unlucky breaks, but Venice has a real good pitcher over there. But this matchup is Hamilton-Lacis. I saw Lacis play Venice, and I think they were a team maybe not quite up to snuff of the other 2 clubs, but Hamilton-Lacis, if Hamilton can do their job and sweep, they're going to put themselves right into that Western League conversation. If they split, I think it's going to be a little bit tougher, because like we said, if Pally keeps winning, the gap is just going to get a little bit further and further away from them. So I think if Hamilton, what they need to do is they need to sweep Lacis, because they're going to play Pally. I think they've got a rain-out makeup here this week. So opportunities here for the Yankees. They got to do their business here, do some housekeeping and sweep Lacis.
I agree with you. I think it's important that they sweep Lacis. And right now, if the season ended today, that'd be kind of a fringe D1,
open D1
division team. If you sweep Lacis, that puts you in a great position. But if you lose to Lacis, that's a Division II team that will probably hurt you a little bit. And we saw Venice, after beating Lacis pretty thoroughly, drop a game to them. So that would also put Hamilton in front of Venice. So that would be important for them. In the West Valley League, every team is playing. So let's start with Birmingham against Cleveland. Do you think Cleveland can sneak up on Birmingham, perhaps?
I mean, hey, if Cleveland can absolutely wax Chatsworth out of nowhere, they can beat anybody. So Birmingham, you know Coach Moore is not going to have their kids. He's not going to have his kids taking them lightly. They're going to be a tough club. Birmingham, I think this would be an important week for them to sweep. If they can go out, they can beat Cleveland twice, I think that's kind of a big deal for them, because then it gets them right back in. As I mentioned, they're 0-2 in West Valley League play. You go, you sweep Cleveland, now you're back at even. Now you're 2-2 and anything can happen. So kind of a big week here for the Patriots.
Another game in the West Valley League, or series of games, I should say, El Camino Real and Granada. Big opportunity for Granada. It's going to be really tough for them. El Camino Real is peaking. They're #1. But Granada, talking to Matt Bacon after their game against Taft, he said, we feel like this is one of the best teams we've had in a while. We're going to be in every game, trying to compete and win every game. Well, it's time to show it against El Camino Real, because you're not going to really face too many other teams who are that level.
Yeah, but here's the opportunity for both teams. Here's the opportunity for El Camino to go 4-0 in league and all of a sudden have a 2-game advantage on just about everybody else. Here's a chance for Granada Hills to prove, hey, we can beat anybody. We can beat teams that are beating anybody else in the West Valley League. We can be the team that you don't want to take too lightly. So a good opportunity here for both clubs. I'm picking El Camino to sweep just because they're so hot. I mean, I didn't think they were going to beat Birmingham twice. I thought it was going to at least be a split, but no, they mercied them once, shut them out in the other game. So El Camino, it's going to be tough for Granada, no disrespect there. I just think El Camino's too hot.
Yeah, I would agree with you for that. I think Granada's a good team, but El Camino Real, they might just be on a different level, but that's why they play the game, so we'll take a look at that. Chatsworth, Taft, could they sneak up on Chatsworth like Cleveland did?
I mean, Chatsworth, I think this is a vulnerable time here. I think the most vulnerable game for them was the second game against Cleveland, right? After that 10-0 loss, whoa, what just happened, right? You get mercied against a team you didn't necessarily think you were going to even lose to. So the bounce back win yesterday, that was huge. Now here's another good way to kind of get yourself back in. You sweep Taft, you're 3-1, and you're likely only a game behind El Camino in the standings, or you're tied. Because like we mentioned, Granada still has a chance to beat El Camino. So Chatsworth, they want to make sure they get back on track. You don't want to lose a game here to Taft. You don't want to fall to even in league. So an opportunity here. And for Taft, you can really start making some noise. As we mentioned, you got to figure out who's in Open, who's in D1. Here's a shot for Taft to get that big statement win if they can beat one against Chatsworth.
And then on the east side of the city, Pauley against Arleta. They'll play a home and home. Pauley, a team who I don't want to say we haven't been paying attention to, because they've been on our radar the whole season, but they're starting to really show us that they deserve to be in the top 10. They're #10 this week. They need to sweep Arleta to stay there, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Here's a challenge for Arleta. Score or run. Pauley hasn't allowed a run in East Valley League play. They're 52 against 0 in East Valley League. So Arleta's got the chance if they can at least just kind of break that shutout. But Pauley, they got some housekeeping to do, as I've mentioned, kind of a team they need to make sure that they sweep. If they do, they're going to be 15-8. That's going to kind of put them squarely in the Open Division playoff ranking. So a good shot here for the Parrots.
Time for the Game Ball segment, where we highlight the top players from the past week in the Los Angeles City section. I have 2 players, as does Alex. Alex, who's getting the first game ball from you this week?
First game ball is a guy I watched yesterday, Brian Golnick. He absolutely shoved against Birmingham. 7 innings, 4 hits, no runs. He only struck out 3, but 2 of those came in that 7th inning as he was finishing off that shutout. His stuff just got better. The command was there. He was inducing ground balls all day long. And I talked to him a little bit after the game. I said, how high were you flying going into that 7th inning? And he's like, dude, when you have an offense like that, when they're scoring you 8 runs and they're spotting you a run before you even take the mound in the first inning, confidence is just kind of overflowing there. So Brian Golnick still got to get the job done, and he did. Game ball from me.
Speaking of pitchers, I have Matt Diaz from Granada Hills for my first game ball. Through 6 innings against Taft, struck out 5, a 2-1 win for Granada in that game. And he was just really composed. There was never really any sense of danger with Taft, because the only run they scored was unearned, so an error here led to a run for the Toreadors. Matt Diaz, I want to shout him out. I thought he had an excellent performance, and we'll see how he fares against El Camino Real this week, because I'm sure he'll get the ball in one of those games.
Yeah, they're going to throw him right into the fire. El Camino's lineup, they're hot. They've scored 23 runs this week, so this is going to be a team you cannot take lightly. Diaz is going to have his stuff rolling, and if you have those nice little confidence boosters, you go out, everything is working, you're not giving up any runs, you're not getting hit hard. That's a good spot for him to be in going El Camino.
Yeah, it'll be important, I think, for Granada Hills to score some runs. They did against Taft in that second game, but they struggled in that first game. Against El Camino Real, you got to score runs.
Oh yeah,
you
got to jump on them early, because if you don't, you got a chance of getting buried. If it's 7-0 in the 3rd inning, you warm up the bus. It's tough.
Who do you have for number 2 for you?
My second game ball is Charlie Roca over there at Verdugo Hills. 4 for 5, 2 home runs, 9 RBIs, and a 15-5 win over North Hollywood. I know you say the Verdugo Hills Stadium is a little bit of a bandbox, but hey, when you lift the ball and you're hitting the homers,
High fence. It's a high fence.
yeah, there you go. It's a high fence. See, it doesn't really matter when you're scoring runs, you're plating guys. 9 stakes there for Charlie Roca at Verdugo Hills. Game ball from me.
Yeah, great player. I was able to see him against Grant. He had to leave the game because of an injury, but before that injury, he looked great.
He looks great. He looks
I
more
think
than
he's
healthy
healthy.
now.
And then another power hitter, I have Matt Bacon, also of Granada Hills. He hit a homer against Taft, a solo shot. It was a 3-2 count, so it looked like he maybe was just going to try to poke the ball into the outfield, just get a single, but he ended up rearing back and ripping a home run, and that proved to be very important for the Highlanders in that game. Center fielder, number 3 hitter for them. He'll be crucial for whatever they do this week against El Camino Real. Matt Bacon gets the second game ball for me. Great player.
Yeah, turn and burn, baby. You get your pitch, you got to absolutely rip it. Doesn't matter what the count is, especially when it's going to be a close game like that. You can't let opportunities slip by. Hey, if Bacon gets hot, who knows? I mean, if you get Diaz, if he's shoving on the hill, Bacon's got himself a couple RBIs. If this is a 2-1 game, it can go either way.
That'll do it for Episode 5 of the Los Angeles City Section Baseball Podcast. For Alex Garr, I am Connor Morissette. We'll see you next time.